Hey folks, welcome to verifiedinvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. In today's video, we're looking at Nvidia, which is borderline at a breakdown confirmed level. So this is key, guys. We've broken a key trend line on Nvidia. It is not a confirmed breakdown yet. We'll go over that. But what should you be watching to know if this is almost at a breakdown point? All right, let's jump into the charts and take a look. This is the chart of Nvidia, and you can see yesterday it dropped 4.4%. It is trading back up in the pre-market right now, but we're going to go over the levels. So the first thing to do whenever you start with a chart like this is say, okay, number one, it's had an impressive run. You zoom out a little bit more and you start looking for trend lines. And the first thing you do is go to major pivot points, right? So what would be a major pivot point? Well, really, this is the bull market high of 2021. Now, it's way lower than where current price is, but in 2021, this was a very good pivot high. You can see the big rally up, the big pullback in the bear market of 2022. So what we do is we take a trend line there and we extend it out. And what you could see here, folks, is that if you extend it out, look at this. This is remarkable how basically if you connect it, it connects exactly through the recent high. Look at that, right to that high in 2024. And then look at where we went before this recent pullback. So what we have now is we have now established a resistance line. Okay, now obviously we're talking about a breakdown below support, so we'll get to that next. But the point is anytime you're looking at a chart from a technical analysis standpoint, you have to start establishing boundaries, right? Where is your major resistance? Where is your major support? Because that gives you a framework to work off of, a kind of a guide to what the potential trading opportunities will be. All right, so we have that. Next, what we say is, okay, in the near term here, we have to watch and see where this April low trend line goes. And what we do is we take the April low, April 7th. Remember, that was the big tariff sell-off that started with Liberation Day. And we drag that up. And what you see here is we kind of connect through 3, even 4 pivot points, right? So again, just drawing this in, what we see here is we connect. Obviously, we're starting it down here at April 7th, but then it touches right here. It touches here, here, and then right there. And it had that one bounce up, and now it's closed below, right? And this is significant because this is the first time a trend line that's been very firmly established. And by the way, notice this isn't a trend line just connecting any 2 points, because we could easily do that by moving the trend line here. Okay, well, there's 1 point and there's 2 points right here, right? Or we could go up here and we could say, okay, well, here, this is even 3 points, right? Or even multiple points, right? And this is really where you started to see a little bit of the weakening in Nvidia. Notice how the momentum really stalled out here. So in all fairness, that's not a bad trend line. But the point being is a trend line, really, for me to pay attention to it, needs to have at least 3 pivot points that touch the line. So here's 1, a starting point. Here's 2, here's 3, and here's 4. All right, even 5 right there, right? And so this tells me that this is a significant trend line. All right, so now we have price that yesterday closed below this key line. Now, the normal retail investor and even some institutions would say, uh-oh, this is a breakdown. I've learned better many times over, more times than I can count. I thought something was a breakout because it closed above a line, or because it was a breakdown because it closed below a line. And I've been faked out so many times. I'm sure many of you have had the same experience. And so what we have to look for is, does this breakdown confirm? To confirm, we need to see a close below yesterday's low before a recapture of this trend line. All right, which one comes first? In other words, we're trading between a level here. Here's your upside. Here's your downside zone. Anything in here is going to be just a warning. It's a warning of a potential breakdown. Okay, so what you're watching for now today, and by the way, Nvidia is up on the day, you're watching, can it reestablish and get back above this trend line, which is around the, it looks like it's right around 184.50. So can it close back above 184.50? If it closes back above this trend line, then it saved itself and it's back within the bull uptrend zone, right? Obviously resistance still here, but at least it's safe from a confirmed breakdown. It's kind of back to home base, if you will. All right. If, on the other hand, you close below the low today at around, let's say, 179.70, now it confirms the breakdown. Why is that confirming a breakdown? Because in the study that I have done, when you get a secondary close below the low of the first close there, it basically ups the odds that it's a real breakdown to a 75 to 80% success rate. Okay, so again, right now, believe it or not, it's in a 50-50 to 60-40 zone, meaning it barely favors a breakdown. I've noticed this again when it closes below the level like it has. So it's kind of a warning, like, okay, be aware, but it's not like, oh my goodness, it's just broke down. And very, very important to understand this, folks. Okay. So monitor this. Now, what if price today stays between this zone and this zone? Well, then if it stays in here, it remains in the warning zone of a breakdown. It's just warning. It's not a confirmed breakdown. It could still recapture this line up here, but again, it hasn't closed below this low. So this again would be a red alert. This is a yellow, a warning caution sign, and this would be green if it gets back above here. Do you guys see how that works? So this is very analytical in that as a technician, and this is why, because charts are very black and white, meaning that they don't, there's not a lot of ambiguity if you know how to read a chart. It is one thing or it is another. You just have to know what you're looking at. And this is again from literally over 2 decades of studying charts, is these are the things that I've come up with, these rules that make it very crystal clear. And so what's so interesting is yesterday, if you looked at Nvidia and you didn't know the confirmation signal, you'd say, oh, it's a breakdown. And you might cover or you might sell your long, and you might even go short. But in essence, if we bring this up and we look at where Nvidia is trading today, look at this. It's back to 184.60, which if it holds this in the pre-market, let's say it holds it to the closing bell today, it would actually recapture this level as I gave you, and it would be back in the green safety zone or in home base, where it stayed now since the lows of April 7th. And so this is why it's so important, because if you had exited your long and gone short yesterday at the low saying, okay, it's a breakdown, you'd already be out of the money about $4.50, and you'd be out. You would have missed out on the rally if you had been long. Now, listen, I'm not long Nvidia, but my point being again is that this tool really enables us to view the correct way, in my humble opinion, to trade. And I love sharing this with you guys because your comments literally drive me to do better, as good as I can each and every time, and spread the word of technical analysis. You guys know the old mantra that I've said for many, many weeks, months, years even. Listen, it's not about the hype. You want hype, you go to social media. You want narratives, you go to mainstream media. Verified investing in what I do is probability based, which means it's not perfect. Please understand, it is not perfect. I've had my fair share of stinkers in terms of losses. But what you do get is the knowledge that if you take a trade setup that you determine is 75% success rate, and the data shows that if you took 100 of those trades, 75 of them would win. 25 would lose, but the winning percentage is at least now in your grasp, versus people that are following social media hype and getting, in on something at the highs just before it collapses, or at the lows, they're dumping at the lows before it drops. And so again, what I always say is verified investing in myself, no BS, just charts. These are what the charts show on Nvidia. I hope you learned something today. We'll watch Nvidia. I'll keep you updated. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Take care.